talked about the Hall of Fame. 3 guys get in. Billy Wagner does not get in. Gary Sheffield, in his last year on the ballot, does not get in. Alex Rodriguez actually went down in support a couple of percentage points, and Manny Ramirez did as well. The only way that you keep Sheffield out is if you think he's a steroid guy, because his numbers to me are Hall of Fame numbers. The 3 guys that got in, I have no problem with it. I think, Maurer was an exceptional catcher. To win 3 batting titles as a catcher at 360 one year, he was a special player. Then concussions got him, moved to first, not the same player. But what I would like everybody to do, and this is not a knock on Joe Mauer. Please, it's not. Go side by side, Joe Mauer and Don Mattingly. Same numbers. Mattingly, I think the highest percentage he ever got was 28%. He's off the ballot. If he gets in, he's going to get in a special Veterans Committee. Off the ballot. The same numbers. Same numbers. Almost the same amount of hits. Almost the same WAR. More Gold Gloves. Both guys won MVPs. Both guys won batting titles. Downey won 1. Maurer won 3. But, I mean, come on. And then you see people that get the love and don't. Here's the one complaint I have about the baseball writers. The guys that, after 5 or 6 years of keeping a guy off, say, you know what? After further review, I think he's a Hall of Fame. Here's the only argument I will take. You can only vote for 10 guys. And when the ballot is loaded, sometimes you got to leave guys off. So if you leave a guy off because you just didn't have any room, fine. If you leave a guy off, and then 5 years later, I looked at the advanced statistics. These are the same writers, by the way, who hate analytics. Same ones. And they're changing their thought process on Hall of Fame because these newfangled numbers come up to give them a greater appreciation. Instead of doing all of that work, don't you think the best thing is take a look at the guy, tell me if he's a Hall of Famer. Do the eye test. Is he a Hall of Famer or not? Because I did a deep dive on Chase Utley, who didn't get much support last night.
Right.
But they think that eventually he'll get the 75. Is he a Hall of Famer?
No, he's not.
Do you think Chase Utley is a Hall of Famer?
And then you
think Jimmy Rollins is a Hall of Famer?
Now, Utley, I think, is like a 360 hitter in the postseason.
Yeah.
But he's only won 1 ring.
Right.
And some of those World Series appearances with the Dodgers, he got a handful of at-bats. Most of it was with Philly, and the crux of it was the championship in 08 and the World Series appearance in 09.
Right.
But is that enough to make you a Hall of Famer?
And also, if you want to look at postseason, Billy Wagner's postseason, awful. He missed by 5 votes, so he's going to get in next year. But I don't understand the changing thought. I mean, guys I respect like Jason Stark and Peter Gammons, more stats have become available over the years. Well, don't you trust what you saw? I mean, it's like the Supreme Court when they talked about pornography. I can't describe it, but if I see it, I know it's pornography. I can't describe it, but Don Mattingly for those 6 years was a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players who ever lived.
They have to redo how they figure this out. First of all, there has to be full transparency. I need to know who you voted for, and I need to know why you didn't vote for him, and that we can get rid of all these people. Well, I don't vote for somebody on the first ballot. Oh, really? Well, that's not one of the prerequisites. We're taking your vote away. I don't think that should be. I'm sorry, I don't vote for anybody because Joe DiMaggio didn't go in on the first ballot, so I'm never going to vote for anybody on the first ballot. No, I'm taking your vote away.
I agree.
And have this one rogue person who can hide away and never expose himself. To me, that's not the way it should be done. And why is it just writers? And I'm not getting on the whole newspaper game, Michael, but we have evolved where there are plenty of people that know baseball, follow the game, that have a tremendous judgment on the game, that don't write. Maybe they're broadcasters, or maybe they cover it electronically on MLB Network or on ESPN or on Fox. And I understood the whole bias. Stop. You don't think that there are newspaper people that are biased because they cover the same guy? So what? So Michael Kay can't have a vote because he'll vote for a Yankee because he's a Yankee guy. We can't value Michael Kay's opinion, who probably seen more of these guys because you travel all over the country. You've done national games. And why can't you have a vote?
Yeah,
Why can't Brian Kenny have a vote that's been covering baseball and has worked at ESPN and worked at MLB Network?
In a bad way, baseball's stuck in the 50s. I mean, somebody who told me, we asked yesterday, why do they announce the Hall of Fame at 6 o'clock? Because that was a great time in the past for writers. Right before the deadline.
Get over
so they
it.
that's what
boy.
They cater to writers over electronic media, which gives them so much more publicity. One other thing I want to touch, because I've heard a lot of people complain about, how is Alex and Manny and Barry and Roger not in the Hall of Fame? They're they're some of the greatest players who ever lived. Absolutely. But they are in the Hall of Fame. I love the argument. Well, it's a museum. How could the greatest players not be in the Hall of Fame? They just don't have plaques. There's representation of what they did. They're mentioned in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose's bat, his hat, it's in the Hall of Fame. Doesn't mean that you have to get a plaque. The plaque is the ultimate in the Hall of Fame. And I'm sorry, if you broke a rule, you broke a rule. Now, if you want to come around on that and say, just put the best people in. Because I guarantee you, Don and Peter, I guarantee you, there are at least 5 to 6 to 7 people that are in the Hall of Fame that use steroids all the time, but they didn't get caught. So, I mean, if we're going to play that game, then everybody should be in. But please don't give me that crap. How could you call it a museum if they're not in the hall? They are in the hall. They just don't get the ultimate honor of getting a plaque. They're not in the plaque room, but they're in the hall.
Right.
Tour the hall.
Well, because the history of baseball needs to be told. And whether you like it or not, steroids are a part of the history of Major League Baseball. And as much as I know they want to punish these guys, are you really going to look and say that Alex Rodriguez isn't one of the greatest guys that ever played the game?
He's in the top 10 of ever playing.
That Manny Ramirez isn't one of the top players.
Roger Clemens might be the best right-handed pitcher ever. Oh, wow. He almost sneezed. Oh, he held it and then went.
Wow. I know, but holding it.
Wow.
It came out. How'd it feel?
I bet it felt great. Right?
It felt very good.
Good for you.
But I understand you want to punish these people. But don't hold the game to a higher standard than other sports. All right? Because it's not going to... And you could say, well, football, so what? Hey, football is a very popular sport. They have a Hall of Fame. You may not hold it in high regard, but a lot of people do. And I don't think they're just going to judge on the field. You think Tom Brady's going to be held out because of Deflategate, because of Spygate? You think Bill Belichick's going to be held out because of that?
Steroids don't even hold you out.
No. Now, I can't really think of a surefire Hall of Famer that was busted for steroids, but it's not a thing in the other sports. Why? Because baseball has these writers that hold it in a higher regard. It's not a part of the fabric of the world anymore. It's a sport. And sport is about promotion. And you have a whole era of great athletes that are not appreciated in the history of baseball because of these, some of them because they tested positive, or we think they had back knee, or their numbers didn't match up. We got to stop it, because eventually these guys are going to get in, because there's going to be a generation of writers and people that cover the sport that don't care.
But you know what's interesting too? At least the writers get to decide whether Alex and Manny and Barry and Roger, and Barry and Roger are off the ballot. They were on for 10 years. They get to decide. The worst thing that I've ever seen, and some of my closest friends in the world are baseball writers, why they allowed themselves to not be allowed to vote on Pete Rose. I don't think Pete Rose should get in. He broke the cardinal rule in baseball. He bet on a game. But let the writers decide. Don't take him off the ballot so you can't decide.
And also, and I know, listen, I guess the whole world is that there are people that have committed crimes that are free, and there are people that have committed crimes that are in jail. I mean, that's the worst. The people that get caught are the ones that get punished, Michael. There's no way around that. But, we talk about Shoeless Joe Jackson being banished because of the Black Sox scandal, and Pete Rose betting on baseball and being banned. You don't think that there was gambling going on? You don't think that there were guys throwing games back in the day?
I'm sure that there are people that are bad people in the hall. So, I mean, if you're going to use that clause about the steroid guys, then use it about the guys that cheated on their wives or did terrible things.
No, I'm just saying that in the history of baseball,
be an empty hall. Not empty, but it would be a lot less crowded.
It doesn't even make sense.
Somebody finally decided in 1919, and only in 1919, never before, never after, that we're going to throw a World Series.
Before people make fun of me for not having anything to say here,
right.
I've been at least expressly in private talking to you guys about how little I care about this year's Hall of Fame.
But this isn't even about that.
We moved on.
We moved on from that. We're talking about the general, why there's things that have to be fixed.